Hey everyone, in today's video we're going to be discussing the Russian armored tactics that are currently being used in Ukraine. This will be a pretty long series of videos because the article is really long, and I'm going to paste it down below in the description, so make sure you check it out. It covers all aspects of the current conflict going on. It's relatively short, but it discusses command and control, engineers, infantry, and armored, as well as aviation. So if you have an interest in any of those and how the Russians are using it over in Ukraine, or their doctrine at least, I would head on over to the description and check that out. I will link it. This map was given to me by Sarah over in the CMO Discord. She's been really helpful, and that whole community in general has been really helpful. So let's take a look at what we're looking at. Right here, we have God's Eye View on. So if we were to go up to Editor, we could see God's Eye View. We can see all our defensive positions. These are our Ukrainians up here on the north. And there are some more fortified positions. There's in-laws. There's actually a skiff that has really, really long range that could easily destroy some of these T-55s and T-62s that I currently have on this map. We also have a certain infantry, and they're called disposable. We'll cover that when we get more into the infantry aspect of the article. Right now, we're just focusing on direct fire with the tanks and spotting capabilities. So what's going on in Ukraine right now is everyone was kind of clowning or making fun of Russia for bringing the T-55s and the T-62s onto the battlefield. As you see, we have our 3D view. These actually have really fairly decent optics, and they have longer range than, let's say, like an assault rifle or really any sort of like heavy machine gun. So what you can do is you can use these optics or these guns to kind of destroy a fortified position, especially if you don't have the supply lines to really like manage an artillery company or platoon in this current area. Because, right, it's a major artillery battle. So what you can do is you can use these T-55s to, one, destroy defensive positions, or as kind of like direct lay artillery fire, where you don't need to manage their supply lines as much, but you do need to have a supply system in range. Then next, you'll notice we do have some specialized infantry with laser designators. These would technically be your specialized assault. If you go to the specialized infantry, if you go to the article, they'd be called specialized, they would be called assault, or they would be called line infantry. Whereas these ones are called your disposable, or that's what we're calling them in the article, right? So these are like your conscripts, your Wagner, your inmates that are just drafted in, and their whole purpose is to attrit the Ukrainians, and not so much by like destroying them, but by identifying like defensive positions or by just like wasting their ammo and exhausting them. So what they do is they kind of send like human waves in quotes or short attacks of these disposable infantry on several axes to try and distract these infantry. And once they're kind of identified, you'd have a second line of infantry digging more foxhole positions that allow our specialized or our line infantry to move up. But right here, we're just going to demonstrate disposable in line. These units right here with our laser designators are going to spot for a T-55 down here on the southern axis. And we're kind of going to destroy these infantry once they're spotted with our armored platoons. And that's what we're going to mainly discuss in this video, is how to do that. So if you enjoy military strategy, tactics, and doctrine and like seeing applied to strategy games, I guarantee this is the right channel for you, obviously, because we're talking about it. So make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe. We have our 3D view up here in this upper right-hand corner, so you can kind of see the action like that. Our units are going to slowly move into position once we start hitting that F3 key and plotting the courses for them. The first thing we need to do is switch to the correct team, though. So we need to switch to the Russians. It's going to repop up our 3D view, which I wish it would not do. And we're actually going to turn off God's Eye View. Here we can actually see everything on the battlefield. We're going to turn that off as well. So if we come over here to map settings and we go data blocks, we're going to say selected unit, and that's going to get everything turned off, so we no longer need to worry about our disposable infantry or in who's who. So let's reopen that back up. Let's start giving some forward movements. Obviously, we know where they're at. We did design this scenario, and it's mainly for you guys to kind of watch this unfold and see how these tactics are applied. CMO doesn't do a really good job at like breaking up lines of sight. I did try and apply some realism by forcing these units, these T-55s, to fire like either through like lines of sight right here, and like I moved this T-62 obviously to the other side of this massive town right here. You'll also note that that skiff I do have mainly turned off right now. It has a really long range optic system as well as engagement range, and I just don't. It's going to instantly destroy our main effort, if you know what I mean. So we could have artillery like providing fire support, but that's not the objective of this video. It's mainly to show how these disposable infantry attrit these forces, how the specialized forces with their laser designators allow us to spot further up, and then how the tanks are going to be used to destroy those fortified positions. So as everyone starts to move up, everyone's going to be engaging each other. We could obviously speed it up a little bit if that's something we wanted to do, which we're not going to do at this moment in time. We're just going to make sure our infantry move along their axis that they need to. Spot. Once these are identified red, they will begin engaging them. So we do have like generic spots, and so if we were to go over to our T-55s or our T-62s, we could just begin. Let's see if it lets us do a bearing. What does it let us bearing fire? Let's say we bearing fire on that one. Yep, and then he begins. Looks like just engaging him. So that's really good that we can bearing fire with this T. Oh, that's a T-54. It's supposed to be a T-55. I don't know why that's showing as T-54. So we began hammering away at these unknown spots. These T-55s, he is moving forward, so it looks like he's engaging with his machine gun, which I don't really want him to do. And I don't really want him to keep creeping forward like that. He's supposed to be in a static position. So if we just go manual fire, and let's take a look and see if we can start hammering away with our high explosives. And we're just going to put like 2 or 3 high explosive rounds on that position. That's more direct lay. And as you see, that T-55 needs to stop, which would be really nice. I don't want him moving towards that front line, but he's going to begin engaging with his high explosives, kind of attriting, breaking this front line. And we're going to pull him back a little bit. He's kind of just destroying absolutely everything. He's gone kind of homicidal at this point in time. Wow, he does not like anyone over there. All right, he's chilled out a little bit. We basically, that T-55 has showed no mercy. That's for sure. He was not having it. So let's get some of this infantry into position so we can see some infantry on infantry contact so we can kind of see how the disposable infantry work. All right. So once we have this Ukrainian position up here identified, as you see, they begin engaging each other. So if we click on this guy, and we just have like, yeah, this disposable infantry destroy, that's absolutely perfectly fine. Let's hit this play button. But he still has what look to be RPGs heading over to this UKR position. Is that the skiff? Nope, that's just a regular infantry platoon. Cool. Look at that. Oh, and he got it. Like it's hard to do like a good little defensive line in this game. So disposable infantry are doing their absolute good job. They're exhausting these units. They're identifying everyone on the battlefield. They're moving into position. This guy's moving at about 2 knots a minute. These units are well within their range, so you see our specialized units aren't moving forward at all. I probably accidentally turned off their sensors, but they do have laser designators. If we zoom out, no, they're just not working. All right, but they do have laser designators that puts them basically up here with these tanks. That's probably why they're not showing, is because they're within this tank range. So we lost another disposable infantry. That's fine. That's the whole purpose. So we'd have like a second set of disposable right here digging foxholes, allowing our line infantry to move up. But it's still too early in this operation. So we would take our T-62, our specialized infantry would continue to spot for us, and we would just say manual target, and we'd try and just destroy these units. Just like this. We put a few rounds down range. We'll allocate 2 high explosive rounds, kind of break whatever fortified position they're in, provide fire support for the disposable infantry as they slowly just get eviscerated and evaporated, and continue to move up. This guy's going to have a terrible, terrible time. Looks like he's engaging with machine gun fire. Oh, we lost another set. That's fine. Let's watch this guy just get absolutely destroyed. Probably by what are like RPGs or grenades or something. Well, that's a very far grenade. That's like 140 meters. Lost another one. So let's talk more about the tactics. So you're seeing what I'm doing is my tanks are mainly this T-55's operating at its standoff range. We didn't talk about standoff too much, but what standoff basically means is that it's at its maximum effective range. So it means it's still able to engage the enemy at a very good distance. It's outside of RPG range or any ATGM systems, and it's basically spotting. So as you see, this T-62 is actually two nautical miles away, whereas this T-55 is only 1 nautical mile away. So the T-62 has better sights and optics in a gun system. So that puts it almost like 2 miles, or like, what's that, 2 kilometers? Well, a little bit more than 2 kilometers out of range. And what's like the effective range of like an RPG-7 or like even like an AK-47 is way, way out there. So you're not having so much armored on armored combat. They're using these to like break choke points, break defensive lines, destroy buildings. And we lost all our disposable infantry, so we can't really talk too much about them anymore. But our specialized infantry are doing just fine. We have units spotted. We have defensive lines spotted. Our T-55s and T-54s. I'm a little bummed that these are T-54s, but that's fine. But our T-62 is doing work as well, right? He sees people. We say, hey, there's possibly an infantry unit right there. Can you put, wow, 21? Oh, no. Can you put a round down into this building? Can you break this machine gun nest? And it's not so much just about breaking defensive lines. It's also about just identifying that position, right? Because that's what the disposable infantry are mainly meant to do as well. Beyond like exhausting the Ukrainians or just attriting them, it's just to identify like heavily fortified positions. So like important like assets or like high value assets like RPG teams, skiffs, ATGMs, javelin teams, things like that. So that's also their main purpose of the disposable infantry, is to not only dig like trenches and assault and possibly die for the Russians, it's also to identify high value targets, which you don't really want to waste your line infantry or specialized infantry doing that. You kind of want to spot and then destroy them. And that's kind of basically how the tanks are currently being used in Ukraine right now. There is more to it, but I really only wanted to talk about like the direct lay or indirect fire usage of the T-55s in this video. Next, we'll talk armored combat and possibly some urban warfare. We'll also go into some infantry usage on the battlefield as well. And then we'll talk about aviation and how they're using their long-range strategic missiles on how to destroy things. We'll work our way through the whole article if we have a good time. It will not be a series of videos like day after day, but it'll be over a period of weeks. So make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and catch you next time, guys. Peace.